So anyway, as you can see, our impact is accelerating. We're starting to make a real noticeable dent in carbon emissions. So we're really making a lot of progress towards achieving our goal of sustainability. And one of the effects of autonomy is going to be an even greater effect on carbon emissions, because I suspect that we'll go from passenger cars having about 10 hours of usage per week, about an hour and a half per day, to probably a third of the hours in the week, maybe 50, 55 hours, which means the same car will be used 5 times more often. So you need a certain amount of resources to make the car, but it'll have 5 times the usage, in my opinion. I think that's quite likely, which will be an even more dramatic impact on carbon emissions. So, we care a lot about sustainable manufacturing. Our factories are beautiful. Like, you walk around the factory, it's actually, contrary to these, like, what you read in the press, it's like a good vibe in the factory. Like, people are smiling and happy. It's like, it's nice. So yeah. We do care. We actually do care a lot at Tesla about doing the right thing, and we're not going to be perfect, but we do care a lot about doing the right thing. So our vehicles are water efficient, energy efficient. We try whenever possible to use renewables for powering the factory, and do our best to do the right thing. Our batteries are lasting a lot longer. I got too many things in my hand. Anyway, the batteries are lasting a lot longer, which is good. Safety is good in the factory. We're improving the affordability of EVs. Model Y is comparable to a BMW X3, but its actual cost of ownership on a monthly basis is much lower. We were #1 in EVs globally last year, so yeah. So, yeah. So let's see. And congrats to the Tesla team on making 6 million vehicles all time. So the Tesla fleet is really becoming very substantial. It's going to be 7 million vehicles by the end of this year, over 7 million vehicles. So, and our factory in Fremont is currently the highest volume auto factory in North America. So, and we broke the prior production record from when it was NUMMI. So it's actually pretty wild that we have a giant car factory in the San Francisco Bay Area. It's not exactly the cheapest place to have a car factory. It's like that in the Swiss Alps or something, But we still managed to make great cars at high volume, and that's a testament to the great team we've got in Fremont. So congrats to the Fremont team. And a lot of people were saying the Cybertruck is like fake; it's never going to come out. Now we're shipping a lot of Cybertrucks. We had a weekly record of 1,300. And I think that with the Cybertruck, it really is something special. Like, people sometimes have like different opinions on the Cybertruck, but if you really want to know if something is cool, if it's a great product, like, show it to a kid, okay? Like, no filter, okay? The kid's got like no filter, like a 5-year-old, 6-year-old, something like that, or even 3-year-old, and say, which car do you like? Cybertruck. So it's like, that's how you know. it's finally something that it just looks like the future. And it drives so well. It's comfortable. It's just a fantastic product. I think it's our best product, and it's a lot of innovation. It's got a 48 volts low voltage system. Finally, instead of 12 volts, 800 volt drivetrain, the world's biggest castings. It's bulletproof. All the cool things can outpull a F350 diesel, which is a very impressive truck, and it can it can do a quarter mile faster than a Porsche 911 while towing a Porsche 911. So that's insane. So yeah. And if you think about it, like how often do companies make products that move your heart, that are really special? It's so rare, and I think this is one of them. So yeah. And we launched the upgraded 3, which is actually a fantastic car. I recommend trying it out. It's really a great car. And it's only $216 after gas savings, like total cost of ownership. It's basically $200 and something when compared to a gasoline car, a similar gasoline car. So it's really a great deal and a fun car. And the performance, Model 3 performance is, well, it's like, faster than a Porsche 911. It's just a great, great car. So, yeah. So, yeah. Yeah. And of course, Model Y became the best-selling vehicle globally. And this is something that we predicted. I think I said in like 2022, Model Y would be the biggest car in the world by dollar volume sales, and that 2023 it would be the biggest in unit volume, and it was. And again, this year it will be the best-selling car on Earth. So, yeah. Obviously we've got the Tesla Semi. We're in low volume production of the Tesla Semi, and just last week I approved the plans for volume production of the Tesla Semi. So we're going to make a lot of semi-trucks. We're going to start off with, it's something, I think it'll actually move the needle financially. It's not like it's not a small thing. And the thing about commercial vehicles is that companies that use them are super objective. It's not like, it's actually, I mean, obviously we're going to make it have cool style and be an awesome car, but for commercial vehicles, the companies that make the buying decisions, they just look at it and say, like, what are the numbers? Like, is this cost less to transport or cost more to transport than say, a diesel truck? And the thing is that the economics are much better than a diesel truck. It's kind of basically a no-brainer. If you're a transport company, you don't use the Tesla electric Semi, you're just losing money. Why would you do that? Do you not like money? Okay. But if you do like money, then I recommend using the Tesla Semi. And so I think this is really going to actually sell at a scale that people will be surprised at, and will actually move the needle financially and do a lot of good, and also for CO2 and sustainability, because semis are driven all the time. Actually, even at much smaller numbers, they have a very big effect on total carbon emissions solved. So obviously we've got some new products that we're working on. under the covers. And I think these are, I think these are going to be pretty special. So, some of them, I think people maybe at first may think, oh, it's not going to be that amazing, but just wait. It will be. So. So our Supercharger network is continuing to grow. Rumors of the death of the Supercharger are greatly exaggerated. We are, in fact, continuing to grow the Supercharger network significantly. In fact, this year, I think we'll deploy more Superchargers this year that are actually working than the rest of industry combined. Just FYI. So now we are going to be more careful about the capital efficiency of where we deploy superchargers. But for sure, any place that has congestion, any sort of missing parts of the map that we're missing, we're going to put the superchargers there. So even for the remainder of the year, we expect to spend about $500 million on supercharger deployment. So it's very significant, and it'd be a well-spent $500 million. So this is, it's a lot. So, and this is actually not showing a bunch of new markets that will be opening up later this year and next. So we're obviously we want Tesla to be worldwide, and this is a lot of countries that we, have 0 to very few Teslas, and we want Tesla everywhere. So. There are a lot of new markets that we're going to open up later this year and next. We're also opening the superchargers to other companies with the that's the adapter to the old somewhat clunky connector. But our goal is to be helpful to other car companies. So any other car companies that are going electric. We do want to be helpful to them with our Supercharger network. So we're providing them with adapters and enabling them to have access to the Tesla Supercharging network because we think it's better to do that than to create a walled garden that inhibits EV growth. Oops, there was a bit of latency here. And we're also innovating a lot in battery production with the 4680 that's built right here. It's a hard problem, Like there are entire companies that just make battery cells. That's all they do. But we're making good progress. Like all the Cybertrucks that you see use the Tesla 4680 cell. We have a clear path to the 4680 being, we think, probably the most competitive cell from a manufacturing efficiency standpoint, and so it is a hard problem, I have to say. There's quite a lot of brain damage required to be good at cell manufacturing. It's like a brain damage high. But I think it does give Tesla resilience in the face of if there are changes in the geopolitical situation somehow. But it's good to have some independence in cell manufacturing. And we're making steady progress, and we also have the cathode refinery, which you can see behind the main factory. So you can sort of see it in the picture there. That's a cathode refinery, and then we've got the lithium refinery in South Texas. And so we're just making sure we've kind of got the pieces of the puzzle, if you were to look at sort of a video of how Tesla does, say, cathode and lithium refining and how the rest of industry does it, it's night and day. I mean, you can sort of eat off the floor in the Tesla refinery, and I would not recommend doing so in the others. We're definitely going very, very vertical here. But I think this is it's a wise investment that will pay off more than people realize. So. I don't think this thing's working. So this year, we're also on track to complete a massive number of energy deployments. So that is a gigantic increase in deployment capability. We seem to be tracking to sort of a 200 to 300% year-over-year growth in energy storage deployment in stationary pack. So it's giant. And the limiting factor really is being able to build more megapacks and build more Powerwalls. So we're ramping up production of the Powerwall 3, which is really a game changer for at the personal level. The Powerwall 3, it usually takes about 3 iterations of any given technology to really for it to be something where it's like, okay, now we're really hitting the sweet spot. So Powerwall 3 is like an epic product. The Megapack is also, I'd call it sort of iteration 2 of the Megapack is also an epic product. With the Megapack 3, which is, I don't know, probably a couple years away, we'll start actually absorbing more and more of the substation of the sort of power electronics. So, because I sort of think you want to get to the point with the Megapack where you can literally just take the high voltage power lines and plug them in. There's no substation. We just plug them in. Just drop them down and drop it down and plug it in. And now it works. Which is like mind-blowing for the utility industry, by the way. Like, they're like, what? Yeah, you just plug the wires in and it'll work for very high voltage. So that I think is actually going to be a major. So this is anyway. So yeah, this is great. Excellent work by the energy storage team. Services and other are also looking good. So we're actually now making money on the services and other stuff. So this is kind of a big deal. Right? Yeah. So let's see. Yeah, and Tesla's obviously way more than a car company. We do a lot of software at Tesla. About, I don't know, roughly half or a very huge percentage of the engineering we do is actually software engineering. So Tesla's, I'd say, as much a software company as it is a hardware company. This is a very big deal because car companies are not software companies normally. So this matters a lot. So things like our Orbiter software for energy storage, all of the software that controls the cars, the Megapacks, the Powerwalls, the solar, obviously for AI and full self-driving are a big deal. Insurance, service and collision. Tesla also writes a lot of software internally that helps, like we call the Tesla operating system internally, that is head and shoulders above what any other company has. I think probably better than any Fortune 500 company. The Tesla internal software is just way better. So it's just far more than what people normally think of as a car company. And Tesla is also the leader in real-world AI. So there's really, this is a big deal. Like Tesla is ahead of Google, Meta, OpenAI, anyone on real-world software, actually taking in video and making decisions based on video. No one is even close. And it's getting better, I'd say, with each passing month, if not each passing week. So, yeah. And it's also worth noting that Tesla is actually pretty good at chip design. So the AI inference chip that was designed by Tesla that's in cars, we had sort of our hardware 3 AI inference cars made over the past year have the hardware 4 We've just completed design on hardware 5, which we're now calling AI 5, because it's really is, there still actually is not a chip from NVIDIA or from, and I have a lot of respect for NVIDIA, from any company that we would prefer to put in our car that is better than what we have in the car. So we started from scratch in chip design, just as we started from scratch in AI software, and have the best real-world AI software and the best AI inference chip in the world from nothing. So this is, you know, a big deal. And the capability of the chips in the car is dramatic. Like, I mean, right now, all the cars are actually training. Like we have hardware 4 run hardware 3 in emulation mode. So we'll continue to make significant progress in hardware 3, but later this year we'll actually bifurcate, continue working on hardware 3, so on training on hardware 3, but then do separate training on hardware 4. That'll be the sort of training cluster that we're building at the south side of the Gigafactory, and that'll be dedicated hardware 4 video and inference. And you know, so the hardware 4 has cameras that have about 4 or 5 times better resolution, and depending on how you count the sort of hardware 4, it's about anywhere from 3 to 8 times better than hardware 3. So, but everything you're seeing thus far is just hardware 3, and we still have a long way to go before we reach the limits of hardware 3. So hardware 3, I think will do amazing things, but hardware 4, I think will probably do about 5 times better. Then hardware 5, which comes out in about 18 months or so, is 10 times more capable than hardware 4. It's like so if you know NVIDIA hardware, it's sort of a B200 class computer. You know, that's like this. So what we'll just progressively do is improve how many nines of reliability the car gets. And then of course that will go into Optimus as well. So the same chip will go into hardware 4 will go into is an Optimus. Hardware 5, AI 5, which we're calling switching from hardware 5 to AI 5, will be an Optimus and in all cars in about 18 months. And it's really just a staggering amount of compute, and it's very power efficient compute. So it's got to be, because if you're in a mobile application like a humanoid robot or a car, you can't just be sucking down 10 kilowatts, you know, like you can in a data center. So you've got to be very power efficient. So the sort of hardware 3 and 4 are only a few hundred watts. Yeah, this is hard. Now, hardware 5 will be able to go probably up to about 700 or 800 watts, but it'll power fluctuate contingent upon the complexity of the scene that it is in. So if it is in a parking lot stationary, it's like you don't have to think very much. Just like a person. Like if you're in a complicated traffic scenario, you've got to think a lot more than if you're just cruising along, on an empty road. But something that I think is potentially interesting down the road is, like at some point, the Tesla fleet, I think, will probably be, over 100 million vehicles. And if each vehicle has a kilowatt of efficient inference compute, I think there's an sort of an Amazon Web Services, AWS type opportunity, because if you've got 100 million vehicles with a kilowatt of efficient inference compute, you've got 100 gigawatts of compute. Like 100 gigawatts of compute is a lot, and it's distributed all over the world. So when the car is not in autonomous mode, which I think probably is, doing robotaxi work maybe 50, 60 hours a week. But at 100 hours a week, it's not, it's probably stationary. So there's 100 hours of 100 gigawatts of inference compute, which I think we should use. Why not? You know, when people looked at Amazon, which started out, obviously, as an online bookseller, and it's on, you know, has grown to be like this incredible place where you can buy anything, and then Amazon Web Services, like, well, they got all these computers that only really see peak usage sometimes, but what are they going to do when it's not peak usage? And sometimes the Amazon servers are down like 10%. So that's when they said, well, let's do Amazon Web Services. And then Amazon Web Services became more valuable than the entire rest of Amazon. And you know, I think there's some kind of opportunity there that's pretty significant for Tesla down the road. You know, again, that's really, nobody's really factoring that in. But I think that actually will be quite significant. We also are no longer compute constrained for training. So I check in with the team. It's like, is there anything we could do to improve the pace of progress with respect to training and inference? And currently, that is not the limiting factor. In fact, the limiting factor right now is that the amount of miles between interventions is so long that it takes quite a while to figure out which version is better than the other version, because none of them are requiring any interventions. So it's like, you know, if you start getting to like thousands of miles between interventions, or you're like 10,000 miles to get an intervention, then like, well, the average person only drives about 10,000 miles in a year. And if it's in an urban environment, and the average speed is 20 miles an hour, I mean, so our professional test drivers get pretty bored, frankly. You know, they're like, okay, I drove all week, and there was no intervention. Like the highlight of the week would be like, yes, an intervention, finally. It's like getting to that point. So this is where actually having a giant fleet is extremely important, because we can deploy a new FSD model and run it in shadow mode and see how well it performs. You know, compare how the human drives the car versus the new self-driving build, and then analyze that delta in shadow mode, like the shadow knows, or doesn't know, as the case may be, and then be able to assess by getting billions of miles very quickly with the giant fleet. Like that, basically, that data engine is incredibly helpful. Like, actually, it's not possible to solve the self-driving problem without having millions of vehicles on the road. So, so that's actually is like figuring out clever ways to test how good the next build, FSD build is actually the limiting factor right now. And then, of course, like I said, we are building another training data center right here, which will be dedicated to Hardware 4 training. So we'll bifurcate Hardware 3 and Hardware 4 training later this year. We'll keep improving Hardware 3, but we're going to uncork the full capability of Hardware 4 as well. So, yeah. And I think most people here have tried out version 12. We did say, like, sort of unsupervised full self-driving would be version 12. So we are actually just keeping the version arbitrarily at 12, and then like calling it 12.4, 12.3, 12.4, 12.5. But it's actually really like version 13, version 14. But anyway, this is an arbitrary designation. So 12.4 is actually like a whole different version than 12.3, and 12.5 is a whole different version than 12.4. So you'll see really giant improvements, I think sometimes factor of 10 improvements between successive versions. And then, as I mentioned, the way it'll work for the existing fleet is you'll be able to add or subtract your car to the fleet as you'd like. And there will also be Tesla-owned cars. So it'll be a combination of like Uber plus Airbnb. But it'll be pretty wild that there'll be a software update, and then the whole fleet suddenly becomes accessible. It's like suddenly you've got 7 million, 10 million cars that can, ultimately tens of millions of cars that can do autonomous driving, and instead of being used 10 hours a week, can be used 50 or 60 hours a week. So it's pretty wild to just be in Palo Alto with a bunch of cubes, and then a humanoid robot just walks past. We've made a massive amount of progress with Optimus in a short period of time, from someone pretending to be a robot dancing in a suit, to a pretty hodgepodgey robot, to a robot that is actually doing useful tasks in the factory today. So we have 2 Optimus robots in our Fremont factory that are doing basically this task, which is taking cells off the end of the line and placing them in a shipping container. And yeah, we actually have quite a few of these cruising around our offices in Palo Alto. So there's, and I think we've got kind of like one major hardware revision, which should be done by end of this year or early next, and then we'll move into a limited production next year of Optimus. Limited production for use in our factories, where we'll test out the product, kind of, as I say, sort of eat our own dog food or whatever the electronic equivalent of that is. But I think like next year, my prediction is next year we'll have over 1,000, maybe a few thousand Optimus robots working at Tesla. And things are going to scale up very rapidly from there. So we'll iron out the bugs. Like the degree of autonomy will be radically better. You'll just literally be able to talk to it and say, please do this task, or I'm going to show you something. Now do the thing that I'm showing you. Get to the point where it can watch a video of something like a person and then learn just by looking at that video and do that task. So, yeah. So really it's going to be quite something. And I'm confident of the prediction that there will be more, like the ratio of humanoid robots to humans will be greater than 1 to 1. So that there'll be, more than 10 billion humanoid robots in the world, probably 20 or more. And Tesla is going to be by far the leader in that. You're seeing a lot of robot startups, but I think it's actually very challenging to do Optimus as a robot startup, because what we found to make Optimus work, we've had to design from first principles, from scratch, every part of the robot. So the motor, the gearbox, the sensors, the power electronics, the communication system, everything had to be done from scratch. We found that there's basically nothing. There's no supply chain. So even though there are many electric motors made in the world, there's no supply chain for the types of motors and sensors and gearboxes that are needed for a humanoid robot. What you're seeing here is our current generation hand and arm, but our next which has 11 degrees of freedom. Our next generation has 22 degrees of freedom. It will be able to play the piano. So it's really like, wow. Now, of course, like I said, we need to make sure we don't have the Terminator scenario. That's very important. Safety of the humanoid robot will be very important. But because it requires so much ground-up design, designing every motor, gearbox, sensor, power electronics from scratch, it's very hard for a startup to, if not impossible, for a startup to replicate that. But at Tesla, we have the world's best electrical engineering. I think we've got the world's best mechanical engineering for gearboxes and for electric motors, power electronics. We have the resources to do that. It applies quite well. And then you also have to have the brain. You need a power-efficient inference computer, which we've got for the car, and we'll be using an Optimus. You need AI. You need to be the best in real-world AI, and Tesla's the best in real-world AI. So you need all of these. You need a very strong hand of cards in order to make a compelling robot. And then you also need to be very good at scale manufacturing. So in order to have the robot not cost like hundreds of thousands of dollars, in order to make it cost like $10,000 or $20,000, you actually need to design for manufacturing and be very good at manufacturing. And in my experience, prototypes are easy compared to volume manufacturing. Prototypes are easy, production is hard, relatively speaking. So Tesla has the production capability, it has the engineering capability, and it has the AI hardware and software capability. And even the most optimistic estimates that I've seen for Optimus, the optimist, I think undercount the magnitude of what this robot will be able to do. As I said at the beginning of the presentation, I agree with the Ark and Best analysis that autonomous transport is called sort of a $5 to $7 trillion market cap situation. Optimus, I think, is a literally $25 trillion market cap situation. So. Now, I don't want to trivialize what's necessary to get there. I mean, it's an immense amount of work that is required to get there, like super difficult. But we are moving very fast down that road, and we're going to make it happen. So, thank you. I guess with that, we can go to Q&A. Sorry? Yeah. I guess we've got mics lined up. Dive for the mic.
Hey, Elon. Last year, I thanked you for making the world a better place for my son to live in. And I wasn't clear. In particular, I was referring to what you've done for the First Amendment and our rights.
Thank you.
History will not forget it, and the sacrifices you made and the risks you took will pay off and have paid off.
Thank you. Yeah. Well, I very much appreciate that. I think you have to say, like, why was the First Amendment so important? Is because, people came here from places where if they spoke their mind, they'd be put in prison or killed, or just shut out from society, ostracized. So freedom of speech is absolutely fundamental to a good future. And yeah, that's the reason for acquiring Twitter and trying to just making it a free speech platform. I think it was very important to just the future of civilization. So, thank you.
Hey, Elon. My name's Ronnie. I'm on your right side. How's it going? Hey. I work for Tesla sales in Orland Park, Illinois, and I was always wondering, do you think Tesla could ever move forward towards bundling software as like a package to, possibly increase take rate for FSD, maybe bundle it with premium connectivity and future software options?
I think we definitely want to encourage people to try FSD, and one of the things that sort of I think probably makes sense is that when we have a significant improvement, every time we have a significant improvement in FSD, give people, give all customers like a 2-week free trial. So like, hey, we've made an improvement to FSD, try it for another 2 weeks. With 12.4, we finally get rid of the steering wheel nag, which I know is driving people crazy. Yeah. Thank heaven for small mercies. Even just something like that, not having the steering wheel nag, and obviously having a far lower intervention count, like far more miles between interventions. So I think I think keep sort of offering people free trials of FSD every time we make a significant improvement. Okay. Oh, sorry. Yeah. It's when you hear the speakers, you're like, ears don't work,
Good afternoon.
Yeah.
2 questions, actually. First, after $56 billion, you can afford to probably take your kids to Disneyland now. Is that where you're going?
Well, I mean, by the way, it is worth emphasizing that it's Tesla stock that I have to own for 5 years. So, it's not possible to it's not actually cash, and I can't cut and run, nor would I want to. I've actually been to Disneyland, Disney World many times with kids. It's a little tough for me to go these days without causing a ruckus. Maybe I should just wear a Mickey Mouse outfit and just go and, pretend I'm like one of the people.
So as we work on autonomy and we're getting to that threshold where things are getting to a seriously advanced level, eventually there are going to be some harsh consequences. It's part of breaking through, right? And I'm just curious where your mind is at on that, and have you thought about, some of those early consequences that we're unfortunately going to have in order to have a better, safer future? I'm just wondering.
You mean like scary robots or what?
No, in the cars with full self-driving.
Okay.
Like we've seen some companies that there's been some unfortunate mishaps, and they've just straight up closed shop, and I know that's not the plan, but those are real consequences of developing this technology, and I'm just wondering where your mind is at on that.
Yeah, well, we do try to be very careful with the deployment of FSD, and we do have a lot of cars. So what, inevitably, when there are a lot of cars and you've got billions of miles, you do have the law of large numbers, where there's a small chance of something bad happening, but when you look at the sort of safety per mile, because we've got a lot of miles, it's very clear that the safety per mile is better than human driving. So. So when we can show that to regulators and obviously make our case to the public and say actually, human driving is not perfect. There's a person killed roughly every 80 million miles. So I think 40,000 people are killed every year in the U.S. from auto accidents. What matters is are we making that number smaller? And as long as we're making that number smaller, we're doing the right thing. Thank you.
Hey, Elon, this is Bikash. I have one question.
Sure.
So we know
Sorry,
that we love you all. We love from our bottom of the heart. We love you so much, Elon.
Thank you.
My question
Love you
is, my question is we all know Tesla will be the most valuable company in the world one day.
Yeah.
We just want to know if you have any prediction when and what is the inflection point. When we can say this is the inspection point, is it solving the FSD, or is it Optimus on ground will be the point from your perspective?
Well, as I mentioned before, I think it's worth looking at the ARK Invest analysis. I think that is the most accurate analysis. Their prediction is, I think, $5 to $7 trillion by 2029 market cap. So more than 10 times what things are today in 5 years. I think that is accurate.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right.
Hey, Elon.
Hey.
Hey, huge fan, and I think history will show that you've had a profound impact on humanity. So I think that's
Thanks.
just given. And just a couple of questions, I guess. I fixed my Tesla addiction by putting cars on Turo, and I found that about half my renters is the first time they're driving a Tesla, and then the other half really want to buy one after they've tried it out. So I guess a couple of questions. When could we expect maybe the referral program to come back, if it would come back? And
Sure.
could we also get a passenger van, like a 12-passenger van, sometime soonish?
I'll add that to my list. So the referral program, I think we'll re-examine the referral program probably next quarter, it is very important to sort of look at what is the fully considered cost of a Tesla. So if with the referral program, it effectively increases the price of the car. So, is the price increase, what is better for the end customer? A slight price increase because of the referral program or not? But I think we'll re-examine that, I think, in next quarter and see if it makes sense. I think some kind of referral program does make sense. But I think for a lot of people, by far the biggest thing we see is that people just can't afford the car. That's the biggest thing. That's the limiter on demand. You can imagine in the limit if there was, say, an 18, if Model Y cost less than $20,000, it would sell probably 5 million units. It would be insane. So now that's not feasible, today, but I think working on figuring out ways to make more affordable vehicles is really the game changer. For most people, it is really not a question of whether they want a Tesla. They do want a Tesla. They simply do not have enough money to afford one. So we have to make it affordable. That's essential. Thank you.
Hey, Elon. I just want to introduce myself. My name's Hamza. First off, thank you for introducing me to Anurbeck. He and I are now close thanks to you, and I moved to Austin thanks to you. So my question is basically for FSD Transfer. I think that should be something that should be ongoing. I think not only on the benefit of you for getting more people on the fleet and getting statistics and info, but also as Tesla owners, it makes us want to get the next model and transfer over. For instance, the thing that's been holding me back is wanting to wait for the FSD transfer again. So is there a reason why you haven't implemented that for ongoing time?
It is pretty complex for us to do this. It sort of it adds a fair bit of complexity to the sales process. Yeah, and it is tough because we've got to earn revenue somehow. So, transfer is tough. But we sorry? One more quarter. Okay, one more quarter. All right. You got it. One more quarter. All right. So, yeah. All right.
Oh, Elon, thank you for hosting us. If you can see me, I'm trembling uncontrollably. I really look up to you, shareholder, consumer, tripled my humble, tiny little portion of your shares the last 2 days, just being engaged, knowing we're coming here, and appreciate you hosting up shareholders, and it just means so much to us.
You're welcome.
You're an absolute idol. This question comes because I care about you as a human being, but in the context of being a shareholder, unlocking these values of Optimus, we need you. And just with all the global uncertainty, you're so high profile, just want to make sure you're doing everything to take care of yourself, safety and health for the future of the company. I say that because I care about you as a person, but since this is a shareholder meeting, in the spirit of shareholder value.
Well, thank you. I appreciate the kind sentiments. Yeah, I think I probably need to like work out, and you know, and like not get assassinated or something, you know. I mean, it is getting a little crazy these days. You know, like to first approximation, the probability that a homicidal maniac will try to kill you is proportionate to how many homicidal maniacs hear your name. Okay. So they hear my name a lot. I'm like, okay, I'm on the list, you know. So yeah, so we actually did have 2 homicidal maniacs in the last roughly 7 months come to aspirationally try to kill me and a bunch of other people. So it's not just me. And there wasn't like an actual issue that they articulated. They were just, you know, in the homicidal maniac career. So, so I do need to be kind of careful. Which is not great because it like forces me to be a bit more sort of standoffish, you know, and you know, like so now like I've like stopped signing things because just you know something. Because like that would be a sure way to like homicidal maniac. I'll just have to sign something and then shoot him, type of thing. So then I have to be like more standoffish and stuff, which I prefer not to be, but it seems wise. Like think of like John Lennon, who was like singing about like, hey, can't we all just be nice to each other? And then he got shot, you know, by one of his fans. You're like, okay, we'll try to avoid that. So. Anyway, I appreciate the kind sentiments. I will endeavor to stay alive and keep, yeah. So, all right.
Hi, Elon. I was reading an article the other day. Is Tesla still have somewhere in the product timeline a home HVAC system in the works?
A home interact system. We do not have a home interact system that I'm aware of. No, we do not one.
HVAC system.
Oh, HVAC. Oh, yeah. HVAC. Yeah, sure. Yeah, in the list of things that would be like more useful than, or like it would be nice to do, would be a great HVAC system that is very power efficient. You know, has like a built-in HEPA filter, and like take a lot of the things that we've learned in the car and apply that to home HVAC. Because I actually, maybe there is a great home HVAC system out there, but I haven't found it, which is pretty wild. And just building in the filtration system and, you know, being able to sort of maybe also control humidity somewhat and, like I said, be super efficient and quiet, which are all things that we do in the car. That would be a pretty sweet thing to do. You know, maybe we can combine that with the Powerwall or something. Now on the list of things to do, that is not super high, but it would be cool to do that one day. Yeah.
Hi, Elon. This is Sandeep. I just want to thank you for making the Cybertruck.
No, you're welcome.
Yeah, kids
Yeah.
love it. Really,
Yeah,
my
kids
4
love
and
it.
6-year-old, they love it.
Exactly. That's what I was saying. Kids, it's like amazing. It's like
I went to Disney last week. Nobody looks at Disney. Everybody looks at Cybertruck.
yeah.
There's a funny story, if you may allow. So we were preparing my daughter. We went to Destin, and then from there we were driving to Disney, and then we were preparing my daughter to. She's 4 years to just get used to the lines, and you know you have to have a lot of patience to get in the line. And she's like, Dada, why don't we just say we'll show you our Cybertruck and then we'll cut the lines? I mean, she got used to it because we were
Sure.
driving Superchargers, and then everybody was coming over, taking pictures.
Sure.
It's a funny story, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I have a request. Would you allow 6-year-old to tour the factory maybe someday in the future? Right now, it's capped
Sure.
at 12 years.
Okay.
Even though we have referral rewards, it's capped at 12 years. Would you allow the kids
Yeah.
to tour the factory? Maybe they can see the robots.
Sure. Sure.
We make an event or something like that.
Yeah, maybe we could have like we're just like worried about kid safety and stuff, you know, in case a kid like goes running off into like the robot cell or something. But But yeah, we could, I think, lower the, maybe have like a more limited tour that's, enables younger kids to go. Sure, we'll do that. All right. Let's see. Yeah, okay.
Donald Trump has been a big critic of electric vehicles. But last week, he surprised us by saying he's a big fan of Tesla and a big fan of you.
Yeah.
What did you tell him?
Well, I can be persuasive. So, yeah. Actually, I don't exactly know why he. This is a good question. I mean, I have had some conversations with him, and he does call me out of the blue for no reason. I don't know why, but he does, and it's like he's very nice when he calls, and and I was like, electric cars I think are pretty good for the future. America's the leader in electric cars. Buy America and stuff, and. And I think he actually, a lot of his friends now have Teslas, and they will love it, and he's a huge fan of the Cybertruck. So I think those may be contributing factors. So.
Hey, Elon, on your right.
Sorry, yeah.
My name's Keanu, a longtime fan of your brand and company and everything. I'm wondering, when you take the driver out of the seat for the driverless car, how do you plan to handle interventions, which I'm sure will happen at some rate, even if they're rare?
Yeah, so clearly we want to make sure that if there's no driver in the car, the probability of a severe intervention is extremely low. We want to make sure that the car is extremely cautious around vulnerable road users like cyclists or pedestrians. So really, we'd want the probability of hurting a pedestrian or cyclist to be incredibly low, way lower than someone driving a car. Now, then there are interventions that happen where the car is simply gets stuck down a one-way street with a crazy construction situation. But in which case it'll basically phone home and say, "Help! I'm stuck." And then I think we can probably solve a lot of these things just by, remoting into the car and kind of steering it like a giant RC car. That's what I'm guessing. That's what I think we'll do. Thank you.
Hey, Elon, Anwar Bek from Kazakhstan. Thanks for installing superchargers. I just want to acknowledge Tesla Boomer Mama and Sawyer Merritt for all the efforts that they did to organize the.
Yeah.
There's an after party to celebrate at Luster Pearl East. If you guys want to come and celebrate all the efforts for the community. Congratulations, Elon.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thanks for hosting today, Elon. It's about 4 years since you did Battery Day and drew out those very ambitious targets of getting to 1 terawatt-hour of batteries. And earlier in your presentation, you alluded to the great difficulty of scaling up this new technology. I think as shareholders, we're most interested, can you tell us a little bit more? Because in terms of affordability, which you also mentioned as this huge burden, these 4680s get manufacturing credits and also on the consumer side get large credits as well. If you could scale that so that we could produce full level of Cybertrucks and also start to put them back in the Y and the 3, potentially it would greatly improve affordability and be great in terms of scale.
Sure. So achieving affordability is actually, at this point, more about the rest of the car than it is actually about the battery pack. So the price per kilowatt hour of cells from suppliers has dropped dramatically. So there was a massive spike for a few years in the cost of lithium-ion cells from suppliers because every car manufacturer put in gigantic orders for battery packs, like giant orders. So the price of lithium and like all the raw materials and the battery cells went crazy. It doubled. Like the price of cells doubled. Price of lithium, I think, went up at almost like fivefold or like 500%. Like went up crazy numbers. So since then, the demand, like suppliers, battery cell suppliers, have increased their supply, and the orders from other car manufacturers have declined. So I mean, it is worth noting that it's tough sledding out there for EVs. You know, GM announced, I think, a 50% reduction recently in their EVs. Ford announced reductions. I think almost every manufacturer has announced reductions in their electric vehicle plans. Now Tesla, we're going to increase, but it is not an easy market. But to get the cost of the car down, it's really the battery pack is a piece of the puzzle, but it's really everything else too. So I really would describe like we're making a car more affordable. It's like Game of Thrones, but pennies. Game of pennies. So there's, quote to first approximation, 10,000 unique items in a car, and if each one costs $5, or then you've got a $50,000 car. So to actually get the cost of the car down, you've got to chisel away pennies, and to get the 10,000 items to be, $3 instead of $5. That's kind of what it amounts to. Now, with respect to our own cell production, we do see a path to cost parity by the end of this year. A very difficult path to cost parity. Currently, our 4680s cost more than our suppliers. Now, they cost more than the suppliers today, but they cost less than the suppliers a year ago. So, there's a bit of a feast-famine thing with battery cell supply. It's kind of like